Happy Hump Day, everyone, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick and handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, is Misty Andy Molitor. Andy, how are you today? How are you feeling? And are you excited to talk a little golf today? This is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, played the course last night. I played the course actually twice yesterday. I need a practice round on it because it's just gorgeous. Like whoever designed it did a good job. They put a lot. The tide was definitely in on the course I played. It'll be interesting to see how that works out with the how much water there actually is compared to the one on the internet. But yeah, I'm pumped for another major. The offerings I've seen at the books have been bountiful, plentiful, almost too much. Like when you get to one of these big tournaments, it's just like when you get to the NBA playoffs or NFL standalone games, you start looking at props. It's like, Jesus Christ, there's so many different things. Like I need to temper it. And I don't know, maybe that's something. Should we just hit that with James? Obviously, James Mazzola at JMazJD. You know him, you love him, you've heard of him. He's on Twitter. He's on the Poor Profit podcast. He's
your partner on the Matchbook podcast.
We do the Matchbook pod together. You know, he's a beautiful California guy, up early. Maybe that's my question to you. And I think you do a decent job of managing your bankroll as well. Like you keep things in check. You're not just going nuts, but like, does that ever come to mind when you're hitting a major like this? When it's like, all right, maybe I have too many head-to-heads. Like, would you ever say I have too many head-to-heads? I'm not betting this next edge.
You know, it's interesting because the offerings in general have just become insane since COVID. I mean, back in pre-COVID, it was like 20, 30, 40 head-to-heads, and we were just kind of scraping at it. But when they had no other choice but to just put forth as many, they really haven't gone backwards. So I think last week, you know, we were doing the matchbook pod, and they had like 100 and something matchups for the freaking Byron Nelson, which was an absolute shit golf tournament. So, like, you know, this is on the prop side of things. On the other hand, like, I honestly just suck at them. Like, maybe it's just because you don't get enough reps with these, like, you know, different. I have a hard time making numbers for a lot of these props because we only see them, you know, for the majors and then obviously for the players. So I've learned to like not go after them as hard as I want because I'll have some strong convictions, and then I don't know if it's because like my numbers don't really correlate to the props market well, or you know, it could obviously just be bad variance. But I've never really done well in that market, so I try and stay away. But maybe we could find some to attack this week. That'd be awesome. I'd be down 100%.
And I think that's probably a good way to put it. Like if you know, I just can't price this market. Like, I'm not going to bet it. Like, there's plenty of those where it's just like, how would you even attack? Somebody
like
brought that
line.
up.
I have no idea what to do with that.
That came up. I was talking to somebody about that yesterday. Somebody asked about like the winning score prop.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say the winning score prop, I will only bet at Augusta, and not every year. Only if I actually have like a strong take on how the course, how the field's going to play. And I actually won. It was not looking good because of how Mr. Matsu was playing, but ended up having like just an okay Sunday with a big lead. And I think I won by like the hook. Those are always priced pretty damn well.
So good.
Like you'll see them once in a while off, but like someone asked about that. It's like, hey, you know, the last time we saw this course was like a World Cup. Or you know, something like are we really gonna take stuff from the 2012 PGA and try to forecast how this field is gonna play and who's gonna win? Especially a weird one where like a guy won by 8 strokes. If Rory doesn't run away, that final score looks way different. So there are markets like that where you just cross them off right away. I'm not even wasting. Don't waste your time.
Throw you know, quarter units at it if you just want some action, more or less, really.
Yeah, take it easy on those.
I was looking at something. The first one that popped out to me, and I haven't seen this market before. Who's going to have the best round of the entire tournament? I haven't looked at this before. It looks like it basically just mirrors the odds for the outrights for the most part. I mean, have you ever even thought about that, or are you going to take a look at maybe something like that? Because I imagine with something like this that, again, looks like it mirrors the outrights, maybe there is some value in somebody at a higher number who might just pop on Thursday or Friday.
You know, with those, you could, if you dove in, my guess is you could probably figure out like just some really high variance guys, like guys who just can go absolutely bonker nuclear low, who also probably can go bonker nuclear high at the same time. I mean, when we talk about guys at the top of the market who can just get it going, pretty much all of them have that ability. But for me, like a guy like Rahm is more of a steady guy. Like he's going to go like 69, 69, 68, 68. And then you got a guy like JT who, you know, he'll hit it so close with his irons that if he ever gets his putter going, you're looking at, you know, he can easily shoot 64, 65, So for me, like, that would be a comparison at the top of the market of a guy who, like, I would never take a Rahm for that, but I could definitely take like a JT, even a Rory can get it going. We've seen DJ, then you have like your more steady Eddie guys who, just, fairways and greens, those kind of dudes who, don't do anything too special, but are obviously super solid all around. Like a Xander would be a guy who typically gets it super, super low. He's more of a, steady, just basically, playing the golf course, not making any mistake kind of player. So I'm sure you could actually figure that out. And, we have guys who we have, all-time scoring for these guys. We can see how low they have gone. But, like you said, it's just going to mirror the regular market. I would say, if we were looking at that, there are some guys at the, higher up who have super high variance, like a Keegan, who could just, like he could shoot whatever he wants on a day where he can get the putter going because he's so good with his irons. And then you got guys like a Cam Smith. To me, it's going to be a little bit harder because he's more of a short game kind of scrambler kind of dude.
Yeah, Bradley's 66-1 in that market. As I was scrolling down, there was some bigger numbers there. Like even somebody like Homa at 125-1. I know that he's a better player. I think he has a couple low rounds, something like that. So I'll poke around there and look. Were there any of these markets you got into? I know our buddy Dwayne D Money has been talking up Corey Connors here as top Canadian. I'm actually looking. I still see minus 162 here at DraftKings. Basically, it's just him, Adam Hadwin, and I forget who the third guy is. But what do you think of that?
Kinsey
and maybe
Hughes.
some other markets like that.
Kinsey Hughes, yeah, you'll get a Kinsey Hughes. The Canadians aren't overly strong right now. That's a lot of juice to lay, though. I do love Corey Connors in a lot of different ways. I'll probably have an outright on him. But the other guys, this course doesn't fit as well. If it gets a little tough, Mackenzie Hughes is a guy who can just kind of scramble around. So if that's the case, I don't know. Laying juice in those kind of markets to me, I don't know. Again, I have a hard time making numbers for these. It's it's not something that we do on a week to week basis. But I would just start with wanting some dogs, some plus numbers. Like that would kind of be where I start, and I'd more or less go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a good point that got brought up. I can't remember exactly who brought it up. Somebody in a Slack chat mentioned this to me when I was getting involved in some nationality props. And I was joking about top Frenchmen. It's Perez and Rosner. And then it was stuff, actually, myself and Pam used both of these last night on Approaching Green. She went with top Belgian because it's just Peters and Detry. And we said, well, it's just like a head-to-head with these two. But head-to-heads don't have, dead heat rules.
Yeah.
So, if you're betting a head-to-head and they finish with the same final score, you just get your money back. If you bet a head-to-head like this in a nationality prop, most likely, and read the rules at your sports book, it does have dead heat rules. So if you bet minus 120 or you bet a minus number on these, you're getting chopped with the other guy and you'll actually lose money on a push. So don't, keep an eye on that. Always read your sportsbook's rules, especially on props like that. Cause I could be wrong. I haven't looked everywhere. I don't know if it is dead heat, but most of those nationality, most of those group betting ones are dead heat rules. If you have questions about dead heat rules, direct them at JMaz. That's complex. I've described it as just the most depressing math possible in sports, but basically it chops it between who you have by how many people tied for that place. And if you, even with a two-way tie, if you are not at even money or better, you'll lose money on that. It will not even have your stake returned all the way to you. So keep an eye out for that. So don't get too weird on some of those things. Like you both said, kind of take it easy on some of those prop markets because they're harder to forecast. And like I said, the dead heat rules can come and bite you. But yeah, it's tough with Connors. Like if you think that's too much juice, if you're scared of laying that, and you love Corey Connors, he has a big outright number still. He has some head-to-heads with some other golfers you can look at as well. So you know how we feel about Corey. Corey's our guy.
One I like, it's interesting, is Top Asian is an interesting market this week. It's been Decky for more or less a decade. Like ever since he came on, he's pretty much dominated this. We have some better Asian players at this stage when you have Sungjae and Siwoo came in. If you think Decky is going to be rusty, I mean, my guess is he probably hasn't swung much. He's been doing a lot of shit coming off a major championship, like, especially a Masters win. You might be able to get something there. Sungjae is an excellent putter. And then Siwoo Kim has been striking the hell out of the ball this season. So those two guys are pretty live in that market.
Yeah. As a lot of people I've heard talk about this course, and I know one of you guys always really look at ball striking and things like that, but it seems like even more so this week, that's going to be important. We've got tiny greens. I think basically anybody that gets on the green is going to be close enough to start to make some putts. So more than ever, you're looking at some high variance guys. I know Matsuyama is one of those guys, but it sounds like maybe you're throwing him out a little bit for rust. Is there anybody else that kind of popped for you this week?
You go ahead, Andy. You got this. You're asking me.
No, and I guess too, just with the green stock, I want you to speak to the Paspalum because I've seen so fucking much content about this. And like, the greens are small, they're soft. Like there are guys that like Alex said that are going to pop at ball striking, but expounding on that, if you could also talk about like I've seen people trying to use like Punta Cana as a comp or like, Mayakoba. Like not only were the fields not a major course, a major tournament field, but those just aren't hard courses.
Yeah.
Like that's like the
resort.
Rocket Mortgage held in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like they're much easier courses. I don't think you should be using some of that. You should be more of what, like Alex said, looking for some guys who have had luck no matter where the course is, hitting smaller greens like this with good approach shots.
And then I think the Pete Dye angle is interesting too. And I'll talk about the greens in a second. But like, Dye doesn't have long golf courses. It's kind of the thing of his is very much positioning off tees. Even with your driver, like you have to be accurate. You have to have the right angle into green. So you would have to assume that this plays like every other Pete Dye. It's just a little bit longer than most of them because he doesn't have a 7,800 yard in his repertoire other than here. The Paspalum is interesting. It's basically only found in like areas that are on the coast, like on the water. It doesn't grow real fast and it's relatively shaggy because when the winds pick up, and the reason why it's perfect is because you don't need it fast. Because if there are 30, 40 mile an hour winds and you have fast greens, I mean, you're just dead. The whole tournament shuts down because the ball won't stay on the damn greens, right? So it's just a shaggier grass. There's not a lot to it. There's no grain to it. And it's really foreign to these guys. And I've never played it before, but from everything I say, it rolls a lot like bent grass, which is just more or less pure. And it's just going to be really slow because you never know what the winds are going to do. And again, they could probably get this shit really quick, but they're not going to. And that's only to protect the golf course from what we saw at Riviera this year where they shut the damn thing down because they couldn't get the ball to stay on the green. It was so windy, which is like
blowing off the green.
Yeah, like you do not want that at PGA Championship. Like that's just never going to happen, right? So, and again, it's a narrative. It's a storyline. We don't know a lot about the grass. To me, the size of the greens is a lot more important because if you're on the green, you're more likely to have a decent chance to make a putt. And if you have easy to putt greens, whether they're it's any kind of slow greens, doesn't matter if it's Bermuda, doesn't matter if it's Poa, doesn't matter if it's bent. If they're slow, these guys will be able to attack them. So the grass aside, it's the speed of the greens that's way more important this week for me.
What are we rolling, like an 11?
Yeah, I mean they said 12 max, and I don't even think they're going to get there personally.
Yeah, if anybody forgot about that at Riviera, like they stopped a golf course, stopped a golf tournament, not for lightning, not for heavy rain, not for darkness, but because it was too damn windy, and they'd rolled the greens and mowed the greens and not watered the greens enough, so they were fast enough so you'd see balls landing and then moving with the wind, which was some of the most ridiculous clips I've ever seen on Twitter of people, and the ball just would keep going and then it would change directions and things were blowing well off greens. It was lunacy. So hopefully, not that I want to see last week or I want to see, TPC, Twin Cities, or the Detroit one where somebody finishes 25 under, but also I hate it when it's like that, where it's like, all right, you've gone too far. I can't even cheer for the course anymore.
Yeah, lost
like,
the course.
I still want to see people being able to play like normal golf at some point here. So hopefully it does play tough, but they keep the greens a little slower, a little softer, and maybe they'll use some advanced tee boxes too.
Absolutely.
Now, my favorite prop. How does that affect hole-in-ones? Can we bet on there to be a hole-in-one this week? How does that usually go in these? Again, it seems like things are going to be a little slow, which I assume isn't good for hole-in-ones. You really want to, balls kind of rolling into the hole, if you will. So what do you think about that?
The problem is that they're just long. Like that 16th, like you just check that one off. That one's not a hole-in-one. No one's even going for that green hardly, let alone the ball. So now we have three. They're hard. They're just long and hard. And if it does get windy, that just diminishes the chances of that happening. I think there was one that was like playing like 180, so we could see one there. And more than anything with the hole-in-one prop, if we get, I'm not saying these things are going to be like soft and they're going to be plugging and they're going to be sitting there spinning shit back. It's very difficult to do that in any kind of wind, especially downwind. You're not going to be able to hold the greens anyway, so that's why they are usually not that firm. But look at the hole-in-one prop. You're just looking at distance, and when you can just check one hole completely off where there's zero chance that it happens, it becomes a little bit harder. What is the line on that? Do you have a line for me?
I'm seeing -120 for the yes, no -110.
Man, the no -110 seems like a freaking gimme bet to me. And then you also have to remember this field has like a bunch of random PGA pros, not PGA Tour pros, PGA like club pros, like guy who give you lessons on every Sunday afternoon guy. And they're obviously sticks. They're really good players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from them. These guys are super, super good. But like you have like 20 of them. So just knock those guys out too. You got former winners, just knock those guys out too.
Yeah, you got Yang or whatever. Like, there's some older, just like a lot of these, man. I was going to say
Daly's in this damn field.
Yeah, John Daly. If John Daly makes a hole in one now, I'm going to be super pissed. But last night again with Pam, we both took the no just because the length of these threes, and then I also added the fact that it's like, there's some club like teaching pros, and like you said, not to take away from them, they're better golfers than all of us. They're fine, but they're not, they're not tour professionals. They're not even, making it on the lower levels. Why are they playing again? Explain that to me.
They have a tournament to get into this thing. It's just a head pro tournament. So you go through qualifiers and this is like their Super Bowl. So, I mean, these guys they're sticks. Don't get me wrong. They're like +3s, +4s out there, head pro guys. But they're not, there's such a difference. Like these aren't even Ferry Tour level players.
Yeah, because I did look at one prop. It was basically, oh God, I can't remember the exact number, but it was like worst round possible.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst score? And with the day, the possibility of a daily blow up and some of these older players, I have thought about it, but you had to lay like -50 on, and I mean somebody had to shoot like an 86, which there's some mid 80s out there, but basically you're only getting Thursday and Friday for that.
That's a good point.
I don't think somebody makes the cut and then goes out and shoots 88. So I'm going to look at that again. I'm going to actually look at see if I can look at the early rounds in the 2012. I said throw out a lot of 2012, but I might kind of look at that and see like, man, were there some really big blow up rounds at this course?
Yeah.
So it might play a little easier this time. It's still something to dig
Friday,
into. So.
You'll see all kinds of. There were like 90s on Friday in 2012. It was absolute mayhem.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I don't know who I mentioned that to, but I did see that like Friday in 2012, the average score was 78.
It was impossible.
which is not great. So, all right, before we cut you loose here, I know you have a busy day or whatever. I'm assuming you just got up actually, but the rest of your day will be busy because a lot of things left to do. You got to put your card together. Just who wins? You have to pick it.
Just a W, just a winner.
Yeah, just who wins this?
So
why
we've seen this. We've seen so many first-time major winners recently. I mean, going back, a really long way. So I think we're going to get a first-timer. I think it's time for Daniel Berger to finally take home a major. It's 4 wins on tour. He has a win this year at the AT&T, a win last year. The first tournament back from COVID. He hits a wonderful golf ball. If it does get wind, he has the lowest apex on his driver, almost in its entire field. So he's going to be able to just hit little low darts all over the place. I like Berger to take it home. Yeah,
he's like a poor man's Usti, really. Yeah. So I'll take that, and maybe I'll add him to my Usti.
Smaller head.
Yeah, he does have a smaller head. I've been looking at way too many pictures of Usti and his
pumpkin.
His unique pumpkin.
This days it looks like a Lego man.
He's not watching this. Jesus, it's killing me. Oh,
that's great.
So. All right. Well, thanks a lot to James for joining us again. Good luck with everything you do. Look for your card's not out yet.
No, not quite. I have some outrights. I still need to figure it out, to be honest. I haven't quite gotten to the
at JMazJD on Twitter. Your stuff will be out later tonight. You can check out the For Profit podcast that was up last night. And obviously follow him on Twitter if you want to see everything he's betting this week. Thanks, James. Again,
anytime, guys.
Good luck. See you, bud.
Thanks.
I seen you added some tennis to the sheet too. I
did. I found one in there. It opened up just before we were getting started. Again, that's a tough part. I like European tennis. It's convenient for me. It's on in the morning. I get up. I'm doing some stuff. There's scores. Lines come in. I get a chance to actually play openers as opposed to being asleep when it's on different other places. But it's not ideal for this format necessarily. But we did get one in today, and we do have one coming up. If you didn't get that Coco golf bet in yesterday, you still have, I believe, a few minutes, 10, 15.
If it goes 3 sets, I mean, they're pushing that back at least 10, 15 minutes from here now. So, Coco golf, and we did get some CLV. That is up at
20.5, I saw.
Fairly priced 20.5 or a 20 with some extra juice. So if you did get the 19.5 with us during the show yesterday, congrats. You have not won any money yet, but you got the best of the numbers. So good job on that. And speaking of numbers that we already bet and stuff we already went through, this is also a bet from the other day. You spoke about this Monday when numbers came out. You can still get pretty decent. I think some people got some 6s or maybe even better on Golden State if they hit the absolute cold openers. But this is what we're looking at for tonight. We have two play-in games. I was saying to Alex earlier how after the first play-in game, I was like, oh my God, do we really need play-in games? Like that was awful. The second one was a little better, but yeah, Spurs Grizzlies tonight. Memphis is a 4-point favorite. And that is the team who loses there will be eliminated completely. And then Warriors Lakers, the 7-8 winner gets in, loser plays the winner of the Spurs and Grizz match. And you like Golden State. We went over this a little Monday, still on that train. So that is the late game. That'll be, I think, 10 Eastern. That's
that looks like it'll be 10. When I talked about this, Golden State was +5 when I talked about it. It's moved out a little bit. Some Lakers money has come in now that LeBron is probable. 5.5 is good. Again, myself, I played this at 6.5 and +200. It's just a really nice spot for a Golden State team that's moving in a positive direction against a Lakers team that's kind of flat here. As much as a LeBron playing is good for them, obviously, and the Lakers did well against Golden State. They were 2-1 with 2 big wins this year, but you start to dissect those wins a little bit. One was a game where Draymond Green hurt his ankle and was out in the second quarter. The other was a game where Golden State was on a back-to-back and looking ahead to a 4-game road trip there. So, give them a little bit of a break there, but just really like the matchup here. I think the Warriors will be able to keep this game close, especially given how slow I expect it to be. This should be a fairly low-scoring affair. And, the money line to me, just there's some value in that number. I'm playing the 5.5 at a full unit, the +190 at half a unit. We just need the right Curry performance, and the Warriors win this game. So we'll back Golden State tonight in what I think will be a competitive and pretty fun game.
Yeah, I'm down. I will not stay up for this game. I treat this like tennis. I will just check my accounts in the morning, see if I won or not, because
I'll try to stay up.
These games are so, I might watch the first half, but I'll be up. Have just done the deep dive. I'll be tired. So speaking of treating it like tennis, when is this match? You got one in Belgrade.
This should be around 5-6 o'clock in the morning Eastern tomorrow. Again, the order of play is coming out. Nadia Podoroska here is going to play Anna Konju. Anna Konju, an older player that took a break, I believe, to have a child or something. Anyway, took kind of a hiatus, has come back, played very well, was a good player when she did play, but I just think she's going to be outmatched here by the younger Podoroska. We bet on her quite a bit. At 115, I like this number quite a bit. I have her closer to -150 myself. So, I would play this out to -130. I take a look. Again, the -115 still out there. Again, it should be a very competitive match. Might look at some sort of alt spreads at some point later for Podoroska, but -115 is a good number. Would play this out to -125.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. When she won a match in Miami, and that was like her first main draw win in like 2 years or something. It's been a while. She was a name, and yeah, she did have some injuries. She had some issues there, but it's not like riding a bike. Like, how to play tennis, but playing tennis at a super high level is tough. So
especially
Podoroska overnight, yes, it doesn't help that every day, every minute you're getting older. So
get some coffee and tennis. Serbian tennis.
Never had tennis. No, I was going to say I've never heard of the Belgrade tournament, although some of these
WTA men had one this year. I don't know. They're looking for anywhere they're going to have tournaments this year, I think. So
who's lifted restrictions? Whose airport's easiest to get through? Like, we'll have a tennis tournament there. So, all right. Well, that's probably it. Tomorrow we'll do much more NBA because actual NBA playoffs. We'll have an NBA guest. We'll talk real playoffs, not play-in games. We do thank our sponsor, WinBet. Make sure to sign up if you haven't yet. More states are opening every day. Not every day, but sort of. That's hyperbole. We're getting there, though. And
they're working on it. It's in process.
In the process. The links are in our pinned tweet. Yeah, any day it could be coming to you. Like, I know Indiana had some exciting stuff. I'm sure they're working on licensing everywhere. So check them out if you're in one of the states where you can sign up, get your $500 risk-free bet. And thanks again for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for helping me get through the crypto collapse of today. Actually, I didn't lose that much. So much is just in DeFi, where I'm very risk averse in this as well. So I didn't lose as much money as I should have. I guess I should be more risky, but we'll live. I didn't have to sell a kidney yet. If you're in the YouTube, give me a thumbs up for having 2 kidneys still, and we'll catch you tomorrow.